Fresh Drop.
This is how legends are made.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Turn in the Spotlight podcast. I'm your host, Tamara Hylton. This evening, we are going to be looking at a great legend. I must apologize also for missing out on 2 weeks. Guys, let me tell you, it has been so hectic, so busy, but I'm extremely happy that I can join you this evening on another episode. And this is episode 3. Now, if you watch episode 1 and 2, you know that this evening is going to be another epic session and you just cannot afford to miss it. So as you come right in, guys, I want for you to go ahead and hit the share button, tag a friend, invite somebody to come right on. Persons have been asking, where can I view the podcast? You just need to go to my page, any of my pages, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, especially YouTube, and you'll definitely find the podcast either being streamed live or you will find the recording right there. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me a very special guest. I'm not even going to tell you his name. I'm not going to give you too much of his background because he's going to be sharing that with me. I want for you to put your hands together with an explosion, round of applause as we welcome on stage. I call him, based on his bio, the serial entrepreneur here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. He is, let me bring him on screen right now for you. Good evening, Mr. James.
How you doing today, Miss Hilton?
And I'm going to say Mr. James because you know what? I don't want to mess up your first name. I want for you to tell us exactly how you pronounce your first name.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Elery.
Elery. So, ladies
Elery,
and
yeah.
gentlemen, Elery James, out of the beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. A few months ago, I was at school when, I mean, unfortunately, I'm no longer teaching in the high school, but I'm still very much a part of the Turks and Caicos Islands government. I was at Boys Day and I was at the front, Mr. James, and I heard you sharing your story of how you took your life from ground up to where you are at now. And when we met a few weeks ago, you said to me, Miss Hilton, I'm not where I'm at yet. I'm still working on getting there. But I think you have broken the glass ceiling in so many areas. And that is the reason I have invited you to be here this evening. Thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you so much for having me. The pleasure's all mine. I hope to inspire and help anyone on that path to entrepreneurship, whether it's in the Turks and Caicos or anywhere around the world.
Beautiful. So tell us, who is Elery James? Give us a little bit background into who you are and where you're from.
Well, my name is Ellie James. I was born in the Turks and Caicos. My father was Jamaican. My mom is local. And I've lived there all my life. I went to school, obviously, to Jamaica, UTEC. So I was there for what, 5 years, 6 years. Studied IT. Unfortunately, during my last year of university, my father passed. I
Wow.
came back home
Mhm.
and I got a job at Cable and Wireless. I was their network technician for a number of years, and I moved through the company real quickly. When I resigned, some almost 13 years later, I left as the regional internet and data manager for the Caribbean.
Wow.
Um, yes, that gave me responsibilities for internet and data for Cayman, Turks and Grilla, Montserrat, and BVI. So um, after a few years of designing and running their internet and data departments, I
Mhm.
left for a little bit. I left Cable and Wireless to pursue a dream of mine was to develop the 911 emergency communications that we still have here today in
Okay.
Turks and Caicos.
Mhm.
And in a nutshell, after developing it, it was a 3-year contract to develop it.
Mhm.
My plans were to manage it because it was my brainchild and my baby,
Right.
but the government didn't see fit to renew my contract. So I
Oh,
found myself
wow.
unemployed. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So
Oh,
in a
wow. So you have
nutshell.
a very rich background in technology and internet
Yes,
design and all of those things.
yes. That's what
Oh,
I'm certified in, and years of cable and wireless in several departments. I did some work in Jamaica as well,
mhm.
but primarily the five countries I named were my responsibility to develop and run the internet and data products.
Okay. So, Mr. James, you mentioned that your father was Jamaican and you spent some time in Jamaica going to school at University of Technology. Tell us, what was your experience like? Number one, having a Jamaican father and spending time in Jamaica.
Oh gosh, listen. Um, I think having a Jamaican father was one of the best things that happened to me because he instilled most of the values that I carry with me today. We were best friends. What I took away most from living in Jamaica for that 5 years or so was Jamaicans taught me how to love my country, and I brought back that national pride that I think most Turks Islanders um, don't have to that degree, I would say. And I was able to visit all the parishes, and man, I'm Jamaican.
I like that you said that you have developed or you learned national pride, as a result of being in Jamaica. And I remember a number of times, even being in the school system, and
Mhm.
I would be at the students like, listen, when it's time to sing the national song, the national anthem, you need to stand at attention. You need to stand, when we're singing the national song here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, we put our hands across our
Yes,
left breast. And I'm telling you,
yes,
for me, it doesn't matter that I'm not a Turks and Caicos Islander, but once I hear a national song being done,
yeah,
there's just so much pride that is coming up out of me. I'm like, listen, I am proud, right? And I
yes,
think that here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, we have one of the most beautiful national song, and I sing it with pride. I really do sing
yes,
it with pride, and that is something that we need to inculcate in our children, and especially the younger generation, that listen, man, we need to have civic pride. We need to
yes.
embrace the emblems of
Hmm.
our national emblems and make sure that we take care of them. Wow.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your father. I mean, where in Jamaica is he from? And, did you stay with him in Jamaica? Did you know your grandparents? Did you experience a real Jamaican authentic lifestyle? Tell us a little bit about that. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. My father was from Maypen, Clarendon. Um,
Hold
yeah,
on, hold on. Are you serious? Like
yes,
literally, I am from Clarendon. Maypen is
really,
my hometown.
really.
Yes.
Yes, my father was from Maypen. Yes.
So
Um,
where in Maypen are they from? Where in Maypen?
now you've done it. I mean, I can't recall because it's been years now.
Yes,
I mean,
me.
I can still find the
I
area,
probably
but
know them.
yeah, from Maypen, Clarendon.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
my grandmother, God rest her soul, Miss Lucy, she through the years, my father, he met my mom in the Bahamas. He went to the Bahamas to
Mm-hmm.
do aircraft mechanic studies, and that's where he
Okay.
met my mom. And then after that, he migrated over here behind with my mom, where they got
Mm-hmm.
married. Um,
Okay.
but through the years, I remember him taking all of our family out of Jamaica, and they
Okay.
passed through Turks and Caicos, and he got
Mm-hmm.
them set up in the U.S. And that was his
Mm-hmm.
one goal to move his family over
Yes.
there. So my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother and my grandfather, he was from the UK. I
Mm-hmm.
think him and my grandmother separated a long time ago.
Okay.
But all my aunts and uncles, they migrated over to the U.S.
Right.
Um, my dad, he was a very instrumental person, even in Turks and Caicos.
Mm-hmm.
He worked his way up through all of the national airlines. He started as a mechanic and
Right.
worked his way up to general managing, and he
Mm-hmm.
managed every one of the airlines. And
Okay.
he is responsible for all the international carriers that's in
Mm-hmm.
the Turks and Caicos now. He was the one that brought American Airlines, There was Cayman Airways. There are several international airlines that
Wow.
he brought into the Turks and Caicos,
Wow.
and yeah, in a
Oh,
nutshell.
nice. Wow, wow, that's awesome. And I see where someone is also saying that I am from Clarendon too. And I think if you're from Jamaica, Mr. James, you will know, like when you go into Kingston and you go to colleges and university, a lot of the people that you meet, they are from Clarendon. So people often say that
Yes,
Clarendon people are very ambitious. They're always
yes,
pushing themselves to achieve. I don't know why, but that's always the case. And I mean, I feel honored and humbled to know that you're from my hometown, right? And as our motto in Jamaica says, out of many, one people.
there is
And
one people.
I think, just coming into Turks and Caicos, we realize that even here, I mean, we could have that motto here, the out of many, one people we are. And I think one people, one Caribbean, that's who we
Yes.
are. Wow. So, so you spoke about being in tech, but you are no, you, I mean, outside of doing your business now, your tech business, you have moved from being a tech person into textiles. Everywhere I drive around Turks and Caicos, well, Providenciales actually, I see lapels, lapels, lapels. Tell us, how did you start your journey from moving from tech or not so much tech into textiles, garment care? How did you move into that industry?
Well, I mean, it all started with accountability, and you got to have people in your life to be accountable, know who you're accountable to. And I'm grateful for the Honorable Gilmore Williams, Gilly. Um, I used to work for him a few years ago, and as his technical person, I had a
Mhm.
little company while I was working at Cable and Wireless, managing networks and stuff. And one day, you know who Gilly is, yes?
Yes, I don't think
Right.
I've met him in person, but I know the restaurant.
He's a brilliant guy. He's a brilliant
Wow.
guy, and
Yes.
he is my mentor, and I love him to this day, like a dad and a brother. And
Beautiful.
luckily, I was fortunate enough. Um, in a nutshell, I tell you the story. I came to Providenciales,
Mhm.
like when I first got transferred here. And on the airport, there's this Kelly's Cafe,
Right.
and
Yes. Mm-hmm.
then I drove up the road, and when I was going to international, there's Turkish duty free that also has his name on it.
Right.
Scott. And then he didn't have as many restaurants now, but he had a restaurant in Leewood, and back then he had the liquor store and stuff. And I was just attracted to this greatness.
Wow.
And I put myself in his path until one day, he was out. I studied him. I knew he hung out and everything. And while he was having a cocktail by one of his favorite places, I would order drinks and I would send it to him. And
Wow.
he would drink the drink, and
Mhm.
as soon as his drink finished, I would order another drink and I would send it to him. And I sat across the table. And so he asked the waiter, "Who is sending me these drinks? I'm not ordering these drinks."
Mhm.
And he pointed, the waitress pointed to me,
Mhm.
and he walked up to me and he said, "How do you know I drink Black Label and Coke?" I said, "I know everything about you, sir." And he said, I just want you to know that I own the liquor stores. And when you buy in this stuff, you're only just giving me more money. And I said, yeah,
Wow.
I know. And he asked me, what do you want? What is it that you want? I mean, why are you buying me drinks? And I
Mhm.
said, I just want to learn from you. You're a very good business person. And he
Wow.
asked me, what do you do? I say, I'm an IT guy. And he
Mhm.
say, are you good at it? I said, I'm the best. And he said, okay, then start Monday, you work for me. And
Just like
yeah,
that. So
just like that.
listen, I like the strategy that you use where you said you studied this
Yes,
individual. You saw
yes,
some qualities in him. You saw, some characteristics that you wanted to hone those characteristics. And
yes.
you pretty much bought into it. And one of the things I do on Turning the Spotlight is highlight the teachable moments. And you just gave us a teachable moment.
Wow.
Sometimes you have to see the person that you want to be like, you have to
Mhm.
study them, and then you have to buy in to your
Yeah.
dream, because it's not just going to fall on your lap like that. Obviously,
Absolutely.
you're going to have to buy into it. You're going to have to make the sacrifices, and you're going to have to work towards it. So when you
So,
started working as a tech person for Gillies, where did you go from there, and what led to you starting up your business?
and that's what I'm gonna get to now. So after working for Gilly, as you know, while I was working at Cable and Wallace, after a few years, I would say probably about 10 years, I noticed I wasn't getting paid, and he hates when I tell the story. So he never paid me much, but the value was working with him and
Right.
for him. And I realized that, 1 month I didn't get paid. And then the second month I didn't get paid. And the third month I didn't get paid. And I really didn't mind because it wasn't the money, because today we're still best friends. Every week we
Right.
still talk. And
Mm.
I went into the finance department. I said, hey guys, I just want you to know that I didn't get paid for 3 months. And it's like, oh, Gilly didn't talk to you? I was like, no. He said, well, you need to go and talk to Gilly. So I got knocked
Mm.
on his office and I was like, hey, I saw you all week, but finance department said I should talk to you because I didn't get paid. He's like, oh, no, I thought about it and you have too much to offer. And if I keep you here, you'll never fly. So I told them to let you go.
Wow. Listen, this is what you call turning the spotlight, guys,
Yeah.
because this is a legend in the
Mhm.
making. This is
Yeah.
how legends are
Yes.
made. He
Mhm.
literally he was stopped being paid. You were stopped being paid. He stopped paying
Yes.
you
And I
because
was going to
he
work for
saw
three
the
months.
greatness in you.
And I was going to work for 3 months. And I didn't get paid. But what he did do for me was far, far more valuable. He took
Right.
his financial controller
Mm-hmm.
and he says to her in front of me, this is Elery, like my son and my brother. You're responsible for him. Make sure he doesn't make any foolish mistakes. And she, to this day, Karen Hutch, she took me under her wing. It's a nice lady from Canada. It's just financial controller. And
Right.
she is my financial controller today as well.
Uh-huh.
And I would write business plans and I
Mm-hmm.
would send it to her. She would look at the finances and she would throw it in the garbage because she said, Ali is not making any sense.
Wow.
And after about 5 or 6 business plans, I relaxed and went research improved businesses and researching the market in the Turks and Caicos. And
Mm-hmm.
I wrote an 18-page business plan on laundromats and dry cleaning.
Mm.
And I took it to her. She said, I think you're onto something here. Go
Wow.
for it. And I
Wow.
opened the first dry cleaners and laundromats, and I've been opening chain stores ever since then.
Wow. So, Mr. James Ellery, so you said you read how many business plans that were turned down?
Oh, listen, I had a horse and carriage, I had a
Uh-huh.
paint store, I had a hardware store,
Mhm.
I'm talking about at least 7. I'm talking about books. I still have these things. And I couldn't
Wow.
just take it to her because she believed in excellence. So this has
Right.
to be properly printed, it has to be
Right.
binded, it has to have
Uh-huh.
the financials, it has to have forecasts. This stuff that would take me nonstop because at this time I was unemployed because Mama
Mhm.
Gilly fired me and
Right.
911 government didn't rehire me.
Right.
So um, I would spend days and weeks,
Mhm.
probably 3 weeks, perfecting a business plan,
Wow.
printing it out, and
Mhm.
presenting it to this lady. And she would go through my presentation, and she would say, "Let me see the book," and she'd
Mhm.
crush it up. She'd throw it in the garbage.
Oh,
She's like,
mercy
"I'm
me.
not going to do it."
So
And she's like, "Go back and try again."
go back and try again. You see, again, guys, another teachable moment. You're going to have to fail many times in order to
Oh,
succeed. Many
yes,
entrepreneurs, they didn't
yes,
win on their first go. Mr. Ellery sharing with you now that, listen, he tried. I mean, crumbled business plans thrown into the garbage. And yet,
yes.
here he is right now sharing his story. Mr.
Yeah.
Ellery, a very interesting part of your story that I heard you shared with our boys at school
Mm.
was when you started your first chain in Grand Turk. What
Yes.
happened? And you shared how, I mean, things didn't go as you
Yes.
expected it to. Tell us a little bit about that story, that part of the journey.
Okay, sure. So during that time, I was going through divorce. And luckily for me, I'm not a I'm big on saving. So I'm able to float myself. I was able to float myself for some time, and
Mhm.
I had some cash that was left over after my divorce and everything, and I wanted a break. And living on the island of Providencia, it was small. Everybody knew your business and stuff. So I figured I would go home, and I was down to my last 120,000 of savings. And I
Wow.
put all of that into my first dry cleaners in Grand Turks,
Mhm.
because obviously my financial controller, Karen, she blessed my product, my
Right.
business.
Mhm.
And I remember putting it all in, and I tell everybody, I don't I don't believe in a plan B or a plan C, because you believe there's a possibility for failure. So when
Right.
I go in, I go all in.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
during that time, I mean, we built the first dry cleaners in Providencia. It was beautiful. It was
Right.
excellent. And it started off working well, but
Mhm.
it took all of my cash.
Wow.
And during that time, I was living in my mom's house. And even though
Mhm.
she's a beautiful lady and stuff, but she kicked me out. She kicked me out of the house for, on, for a long story, for no
Your mother
particular reason.
kicked you out?
She kicked me out of the house. So I
Mhm.
was not only was I broke, I was down to $7. I'll never forget. I looked at my bank
Wow.
account, $7, and she kicked me out of the house. And I brought a guy, matter of fact, a Jamaican guy too.
Mhm.
I brought him over to Grand Truck, and he was the one that was helping me because he had more experience in
Mhm.
the business than I did. Because obviously, I just knew the business theoretically, but he had the
Right.
practical knowledge of running a dry cleaners. So
Mhm.
obviously, whatever monies that had to be made had to be paid to him, and he had
Right.
his family to take care of and pick me in school, and yeah. So
Mhm.
everything had to go to him. And I had to go to him and say, hey, bro, we don't have any place to stay. And he said to me, that's fine. We'll live by the dry cleaners. And we slept in the dry cleaners on a piece of plywood. Uh,
Wow.
we would go, I mean, we would, you know, we would go out, we would go to bed on a
Mhm.
sheet of plywood. My auntie gave me a sheet and stuff, and that's what we slept. We slept there for 5 days, and a large part of my success is being gratitude, and I'm a serious worshiper, because
Yes.
I've seen God come through for me. I've seen
Mhm.
this lady gave me an apartment without any money, and
Wow.
I remember catching the first shower in the apartment
Mhm.
because it was there a while, and the water was coming out yellow, almost like orange,
Right.
and but it was better than sleeping on a plywood in the dry cleaners. And
Wow.
God is good that
Amen.
unfortunately, due to the economy that crashed in Grand Turk,
Mhm.
my that business wound up, and I lost everything I had again,
Oh my.
and I was down to zero. But I know the business was a good business. I had a very good model, and while I didn't have any cash, financial literacy is one that I encourage everyone to
Mhm.
understand, and that's one of the biggest problems that we have, particularly in the Caribbean, because
Right.
we are ignorant when it comes to
Mhm.
financial literacy.
Mhm.
The church doesn't teach it to us. Our family doesn't teach it to us. The schools
No.
doesn't teach it to us, and we are
No.
forced to learn by ourselves, and we
Yes.
are and we become epic failures.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but luckily, I was able to, for me, learn financial literacy early, so I was able to cut off my debt from my home that I
Right.
built from when I was 23 years old.
Mhm.
And I moved back to Provo. I walked
Mhm.
into a bank and I said, "Hey, I don't have any cash. You saw the kind of money I had before, but I have
Right.
a house up the road that's valued. Please lend me some money. I want to start a business."
Mhm.
And they did. They did lend me the money, and I promised them I'd pay them. And I made good on my word, and I paid them in way less than time I was supposed to pay them.
Wow.
And dry cleaners in Providenciales, and ever since then, I've been building stores.
Awesome. Oh, wow. Mr. James, that was like more than a mouthful there. Just telling us of how you went from being kicked out of your mother's house, being broke down to $7, being
Yeah,
sleeping on the plywood in your
yes,
business space because you didn't have money to rent a place, and
no,
eventually getting into an apartment and just the overwhelming feeling of gratitude just to be able to take
Yes.
a bath. Listen, people, let me tell you something. I know that there are some persons out there listening, and you're thinking that, listen, I probably will not be able to accomplish my goals or my dreams. The story that Elery is sharing with us today, guys, is is a testament that nothing is impossible with God. And I love, Mr. James, that you said that you are a worshiper, you are a man of God.
Yes.
And I remember you saying to me when we met that, listen, I can't do it in the day. It has to be in the evening. The interview has to be
Yes.
in the evening because I have to go to church. And I really respect that, because in an age
Mm.
when people, they're not serving God and they're giving, attributes to their success, even to the devil. You are giving glory to God for the success
Yes.
and everything that you have accomplished, and that is really something awesome. And I mean, it's truly a blessing, right? And I
Yes.
know young men listening to you know. I'm going to make sure that I share this all over my social media platform, so that persons, especially young men in our society today, they can hear your story and know that, listen, sometimes if you want good, as we say in Jamaica, your nose have to run. Sometimes you
Mm.
have to just, you're going to have sleepless nights, hungry nights. And I mean, similarly, many of us who would have accomplished something in life, it didn't just come easy. We've had to work for it. And you're showing us that, listen, you have been through the challenges, you have been through the rigors, and that is how you have accomplished what you have accomplished. You mentioned earlier the importance of financial um, management
Literacy.
and literacy. That's the term you use, financial literacy. How can you, as a businessman, help to, create, more environment where persons can become more financially literate? Or what have you been doing to create that kind of atmosphere within our community, within the business community, within the schools, and the community at large, to help people to become more financially literate?
Well, I have been working with Long Bay School. I haven't done it recently, but I would go to the school and I would teach financial literacy. Also, I've done presentations to several churches here on Providenciales on financial literacy. And what I do is I take people on and I mentor them through financial literacy and getting out of debt and how to grow their finances and stuff. So I'm probably due now for another church. I think I mentioned it to my bishop already.
Right,
And I'm just waiting for him to calendar it, and I'll do another session or
right.
teaching, if you wish, on financial literacy.
Mhm.
Because you'd be surprised to know how simple it is, but it's because no one ever taught us.
Yes.
But for the viewers out there that want to jumpstart on it, they can Google Dave Ramsey. He's he's a perfect guy to teach you on financial literacy.
Mm.
Daveramsey. Dave
Right.
Ramsey. He's the
Mhm.
best. He's the
Wow.
best, and that's why.
Mhm.
Well, I have all of his books. Perfect
Right.
Guide to Money, The Complete Guide to Money,
Mhm.
Total Money Makeover. It actually unearths everything that you thought you knew about
Right.
money and teaches
Mhm.
you how to manage, how to get out of debt, how to pay your bills, and become all that God has planned for you to be.
Right. Right. That is so awesome. And I like that you're doing that, Mr. James. And thanks for sharing that. So listeners, if you didn't hear, Mr. James just shared with you someone that you could learn financial literacy from. I think I would have, maybe watched some of his videos before. James Ramsey. And
Dave Ramsey.
Dave rather. Why did I say James? Dave
Yeah.
Ramsey. But Mr. James, budgeting. Something as
Mhm.
simple as a lot of people don't write a budget at the end
Yeah.
of the month, or
Yeah.
prior to the end of the month, to determine
Mhm.
how they're going to spend their money. They just pretty much get the paycheck and they spend it, right?
Right. Right. Mhm.
Sounds like you're actually doing that kind of thing where you're sharing with the young people, especially in the schools, because if you could get them to learn that. And I see a lot of adults saying, why is it that they're not teaching us these things in school? Why are they not teaching us how to manage our monies, how to, write simple budgets and so on in schools. And, if we could get more of that, that's something that I used to teach as a teacher of family and resource management. But we just have a few students who actually do that subject. So we really want to have it more broad based where more children, more students are actually learning about that. So you spoke about lapels. Tell us about some of the other businesses because I'm calling you when I read your bio, I said, no, this gentleman is a serial entrepreneur. Tell us about some of the other businesses that you have invested in along with being, outside of garment care. And may I say that I went to when I moved to Provo, I started going to your laundromat, and I was quite impressed by how you set up your laundromat. Just the thoughts on the wall. I saw you had your vision statement. Like, it's a real big business thing, and I absolutely love it. When I look outside, I saw where you had an area. I mean, I've never seen this in my entire life. Going to laundromat in the States and everywhere, I never see this nowhere. I see you have a play area where parents can take their children, the children can go and play. Listen, this is. I mean, how did you get that vision? Before you tell us about the other businesses, tell us about how did you get that vision for your laundromat?
Well, I have I have been blessed with a blessing and a curse, and by that I mean that when I build stuff, I
Mm-hmm.
build it for me. I build it for what would you want?
Wow.
And I don't like people close to me, so you'll notice that my aisles are very wide, so you can pass
Right.
with your dirty
Mm-hmm.
clothes and don't touch my dirty clothes. I
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of I believe in brightness, so I have a lot of light. And then my
Yes.
son, I have a daughter now, but at that time I had my son who was always with me, and I was like, if
Mhm.
I got to go to the laundromat, I got to take him. I don't want him nagging me and stuff. I want to be able to
Wow.
look through the glass and see him,
Mhm.
and while I do what I have to do and stuff, and be able to sit down and take something to eat and have a seating
Mhm.
area while he's occupied, so I can get my chores done. So
Mhm.
and that's one of the reasons why I promote so much writing a business plan, because
Yes.
it prompts you to ask all of these questions. So
Mhm.
let me ask you something. What would you want? How would you like it to look? What would
Right.
you do with your son? What would you want your son to be doing while you're doing this? Okay, then uh, what would make you more comfortable? Oh, I need to have a more
Mhm.
secure yard. So you'll notice that my yard is fenced really high all
Yes.
the way around.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
you need a lot of light, because if I was to send my girlfriend or wife or whoever there,
Mhm.
then I want them to be comfortable coming out at
Yes.
night. So the things have to be bright. So
Mhm.
that's why I always encourage people to do a business plan. So
Yes.
those are some of the questions
Mhm.
that you're forced to ask yourself to be
Right.
different, to be unique, and putting in that level of work, no doubt it's paid off.
Yes, absolutely. And I can guarantee that your customers would have experienced customer satisfaction as a result of that, because as you said, you were not just thinking about, okay, it's just customers. You put yourself in the place of the customer, and that's where
Yeah.
the vision comes. I don't know if there's anybody here who's planning to become an entrepreneur, but if you are planning, I hope you have your pen and your papers out and you're taking notes, because you have to become the customer for your business before you start attracting other customers. And that's exactly what
Absolutely.
Mr. James did. Wow, that's beautiful. So tell us, Mr. James, a little about the other businesses that you do, the other tech business, because, I think maybe the lapels, the garment care, that's the largest one. But tell us about the others that you're involved in.
Okay, there is, I don't remember. I do have a car wash
Mm,
that services washing cars. There's the dry cleaners. There are four laundromats. Then there's the Oasis Premium Water, the water depots that you see right outside the laundromats and stuff.
okay.
There,
Yeah.
that I got to be careful, because Gilly is my competitor, and I I think he wouldn't mind me saying I have the best water on the island.
Well, you know what? That's where I filled my water bottles when I came over.
we,
So
we,
that's the
we
one
spent
I've been using.
so we spend a lot of time in research.
Right.
I'm researching water, and we use different type of filters that does different levels of purification.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
even good for women,
Mm-hmm.
to help them to keep their body pH and all that stuff.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, we've invested in that. We have quite a few of those people around the island.
Right.
Um, we have an apartment complex
Mm-hmm.
over in Discovery Bay, um, and right now, with this a technical concepts company. That's my IT company that's still
Mm-hmm.
operating.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, we are finishing up three luxury vacation villas, a
Okay.
short club.
Mm,
Um,
beautiful.
yes, and that is the project that we've started last year, and we should be done by say November, December.
Awesome. Awesome. So,
Yes.
sometimes you said that you're setting up some luxury villas and so on here. And we know that Turks and Caicos Islands is a tourist destination, right? But there are also a lot of locals who would seek to want to live in comfortable homes in, beautiful environment, like in the Grace Bay areas. But the cost for housing is so expensive in Turks and Caicos. I mean, is there any plan to provide some affordable housing, whether it's for expats or even for locals who would move into this area? I mean, how can you as a businessman seek to provide affordable housing for local people?
I told you if I tell you that I've already secured the property, and that is our very next project that's supposed to start. We're gonna start working on it next year, but we've already secured the property. We own the property now, and we are in the process of designing because it has to be of a standard. It has to, even though it's going to be affordable, it has to look and feel. So we have about just under an acre that we're
Okay.
going to be doing these affordable units
Hmm.
on. It's going to be a combination of like studio and
Right.
one bedroom, two bedroom.
Right.
And that's what we have slated. Well, I'm working on. I just have some sketches to take my architect, but I tell everybody I can only do one good thing at a time. So
Hmm.
while we just have that table on the board and we purchased the property for it,
Hmm.
um, we're finishing up the luxury villas, and
Right.
I think my normally 3 to 6 months break, and after that, no doubt, we probably would start the units. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome news. I'm happy to hear that because I mean, moving into Provo, I'm like, man, it's so hard to find places over here, and especially affordable housing, and in areas where you actually feel comfortable. So I'm very
Right.
happy to hear, that you, along with your team, and you are actually planning on building some affordable houses in
Yes.
Providenciales. But moving and you know what? I had my questions here, Mr. James, and I have not asked you one question. And I actually like this because we're just being candid in our
Sure.
conversation this evening.
Mm.
So let me look at one of the questions that I have here and see
Okay.
if I can ask you one of these questions because I mean I just love how we're talking right now. If you
Yes.
were to share, with our listeners and our viewers, some important lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur, what are some of those important lessons and what advice would you have for our young upcoming entrepreneurs?
Sure. The first one that comes to mind is don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, the the road will not always be smooth,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to remember what your end goal is. And just whatever it takes, don't give up. I mean, I was just sharing with one of my friends the
Mm-hmm.
other day. I mean, when I face hardship in my life, that's when I go hardest. I mean, lapels was birthed after, I mean, during a divorce. I was like, something, I'm feeling so much negative energy now. I need
Mm-hmm.
to find a way to turn this into something.
Oh.
and don't give up. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it doesn't matter. I've had so many. I can go through sad stories
Yeah.
over and under,
Right.
and don't give up, man. Hey, we're only here for a short time. God has
Mm-hmm.
placed you here for a task and purpose that He's desired for you to do.
Right.
Find it and do it before your time expire. But whatever it is, whatever come your way, just don't give up.
Don't give up. Don't give
Don't
up.
give up.
When life gets tough or it gets hard, you go harder.
Go
Don't give
harder.
up. Wow, you mentioned that that's a very potent lesson there, Mr. James, because a lot of people tend to give up easily on life, especially when the challenges come. But I mean, that's motivation and inspiration, even for me to, just going through this transitional moment and facing the challenges. Thanks for that encouragement of not giving up no matter what. When it gets hard, go harder. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
That's
go
it.
harder. So you mentioned earlier about being divorced. Tell us, I mean, what is it like? Because oftentimes when it comes on to divorce and separation and so on, and without even giving too much information, what was it like for you as a man in terms of your emotional strength or
Oh,
stability, dealing with the mental challenges? How did you deal with all of that as a man? And what encouragement can you give to men who may have gone through, separation, divorces, bad relationships? How can they recover? What is your advice to men who would have experienced, those kind of bad relationship situations?
it is sad. It's a very good question, but it's sad because most times, if not all the time, we feel like nobody cares,
Yeah.
and there's
Wow.
nobody,
Mhm,
nobody to lay a head
mhm,
on the shoulder.
mhm,
Um, and let me tell you what I learned. It's
mhm.
okay to cry. It's okay to cry, and
Wow.
society has
Mhm.
made it that if we cry, we're soft, and
Right.
and if we cry, we're not a man. And if we cry,
Wow.
no, bro, it's
Mhm.
okay. It's okay to cry. You feel pain, man. You feel pain.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
feel the emotional pain. You feel the pain
Yes.
of your family. You're not talking about. I have my
Right.
son that was involved, and yeah, me and him, we're very close still to this day.
Mhm.
And he and me torn between me and his mom,
Wow.
and it's okay to cry. And it's okay to vent, but
Mhm.
the two things or two keys I
Mhm.
think that has kept me is A, to have one person that's
Mhm.
going to be there for you.
Right.
Find one person that's going to be there for you. And
Mhm.
two, there's a man upstairs,
Woo.
and
Wow. Mm. Wow. Wow.
there's a man upstairs.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
if you hold your peace, he will
Mm.
fight you down.
Mercy.
So
Mercy.
find somebody, just one
Yes.
person, because you can't. I don't want you revealing yourself to too many your vulnerability to too many
Yes.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time we're very, very
Yes.
vulnerable. If you
True.
show me a guy who's sleeping with a lot of women and going through a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stuff, I can show you a guy that has been hurt and he's dealing
Wow.
with unresolved trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to have one person who
Mm-hmm.
was there and they said, "Hey," and they reminded me of who I am. Say,
Wow.
"Hey, you're down, but you're not out. You're going to fly
Mm-hmm.
again one
Woo.
day. You have
Wow.
no wings now, but rest because when you do fly, you will fly again." And staying close to God during that time, because it was a really dirty and nasty time for me, particularly
Mm-hmm.
living on a small island.
Right.
And all the words was "be still." And in the stillness, I became vindicated, and He fought my battle, and I couldn't ask for anything more. Yeah.
Just wow.
His word says that I will not cause you to be ashamed or disgraced.
Yes.
And that's what we got to remind him. Because
Mm-hmm.
And I had those kind of conversations with God. You said I wouldn't be ashamed of His grace. I feel a little ashamed right now, boss. In case you don't realize, everybody talking about me. And He's like, "Let me fight your battle."
Wow. Listen, listen.
So
This is a candid moment, guys.
you would be surprised to know how many man is hurting,
Yes.
and we can't say. We
Mm-mm.
can't say. You'd be surprised to know the
Mm-hmm.
depth of true man hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But society says we can't say.
Yes. Yes. But you really brought me. I mean, this is a very deep moment right here because I mean I've been through a divorce and I understand what it feels like from a woman's perspective. But you sharing this, Mr. James, from a man's perspective has really been an eye opener for me because, as you rightly said, there are a lot of men out there hurting, and the spotlight is always on the woman or on women to say, all right, the woman is hurting, the woman is this and the woman is that. And we often tend to neglect men, thinking that they don't have feelings and they don't
Yes.
have emotions. And I really want to thank you, for really just being open and candid about, what it was like going through that and how you overcome, right? And just
Yes.
the importance of just, just embracing your emotions. So if you needed to cry, you cried.
Mm,
You depended upon God solely because you know that He was your sustainer, even
yes.
going through those challenges. And yes, as you said, it was a difficult time. It was a
Mm,
difficult time, but God saw you through. And, it's just so much to give God thanks for.
yes.
Really,
Every day.
so much to give God thanks for.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Man, thank you for sharing that. So,
Yes.
um, so we're not going to talk about your personal life because I try not to use this platform to get into that. But where do you go from here? So you talk about the business and you talk about, what you have for the future. But in terms of, I mean, what can we look forward to coming from Elery James for the future?
Um, well, I'm going to, I'm branching out more on a little bit more philanthropic work.
Hmm.
And what I've done was, we're in the hurricane season now. I have hurricane supplies that's coming for all my customers.
Right.
And throughout the Turks and Caicos, I think I've purchased enough to be able to touch every island.
Wow.
I want to do a little bit of giving back. But,
Hmm.
people always ask me what's next,
Right.
but I enjoy this stuff so much
Mhm.
and it doesn't feel like work at all.
Right.
So, I sometimes just drive down the road. I was like, I'm going to buy this property because this is where the market's heading. We
Mhm.
have a lot of hotel workers coming in, and people need some place where they can stay somewhere
Right.
for around $1,200 to
Mhm.
$1,500,
Mhm.
and this property we can do it. And I purchased it and I just left it there. And
Wow.
like the place now where I'm finishing the villas on.
Mhm.
This property was purchased back in 2007 or so.
Right.
And it just sat there until, something, I think I'm going to go over there and do that because this
Right.
is what the market is calling for.
Mhm.
So I can't really say I have the immediate plans for the housing development.
Right.
Um, and I want to get a little bit more diversify my income
Mhm.
into different industries. But
Wow.
I just trust the man upstairs, and
Mhm.
he
Mhm.
always leads me. I'm sorry,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
towards what is needed and where I can be a blessing to people as well.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I read your bio, Mr. James, I realized that you are a musician.
Yes.
Tell me about that. I mean, tell us what you do. Do you sing? Do you
Yeah.
play? Tell us about that.
Well, my father was a saxophonist and he used to sing. And so growing up with a Jamaican father, so if
Hmm.
he played saxophone,
Hmm.
then we had to play saxophone.
Okay.
So My first instrument was the saxophone. My father and I we used to play. We played together for years. And then he used to sing until one day he brought a piano home. He said, "Hey, I'm tired of going out singing and people can't play well enough for me. So starting Monday, you go music school and you can play
Right.
the piano."
Wow.
And I went to music school
Uh-huh.
and both theory and practical. I'm out of the 8 students in the Caribbean that got distinction in '91 for the theory of music. Yeah. Royal School of Music in the UK. Yeah. Only 8 people in the Caribbean got, I was one of them that got distinction. And so theory and practical, I play. To this day, I still play in church. I've been music directors um, from churches from the time I was 16 years old.
Mhm.
I've been the director of the Turks and Caicos brass band because I play saxophone or drums
Right.
in the brass band.
Mhm.
Now I still serve as the assistant director. And while I'm not the music director anymore in my church, I'm the assistant music director. And every Sunday, regardless or not, I still play
Wow.
in our band and
Beautiful.
church. Yes.
I'm definitely going to be jamming with you one of the days. I
Yeah, we play
mean,
at the Abundant Life Ministry.
pardon?
I invite you. I play at the Abundant Life Ministry. I invite you to
All
come next
right.
week Sunday.
I'm coming to church one Sunday for sure.
Yes.
Because I mean, when I read your bio, I'm like,
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't even think about it. I mean, that was the last thing I was expecting to see on your bio that you are a musician. But you know what I
Yes.
find very funny, Mr. James, is that there are so many people in Turks and Caicos who are musicians. For me, it's as
Yeah.
though everybody here had to learn a little music at some
Every.
point in time in their life. So I mean, I feel so incompetent sometimes because I sing, but I know nothing. And
Yes.
I always
Yes.
tell people that as much as I sing, I know absolutely nothing about music. But you know, it's always like I'm so humbled when I meet people who can play because trust me, that's a gift that I don't have. I have the voice, but I don't have nothing more than that. So definitely one of the days I'm going to be jamming with you. And if I should do a
Yeah.
concert over here, you're
Sure.
definitely going to be on it.
No, no, most definitely. I mean, a few years ago, I used to do a lot of benefit concerts. I've
Right?
raised thousands of dollars for Kidney Foundation, for Cancer
Mhm.
Society. I would do huge concerts and donate all the
Right.
money to charities. And that was
Right.
back in, and
Mhm.
you know, because being a musician and stuff, musicianship is like a family. So you can
Right.
call on other musicians and stuff. So in church,
Awesome.
you would find me behind keyboard or drums, but
Mhm.
marching on the road, you're gonna find me with a saxophone,
Okay.
because I'm also a part of the community band, the Turks and Caicos Brass Band.
Mhm.
So we play for funerals and almost everything for people for free.
Wow.
And
Nice.
yeah, so but my father got me into music because, like I said, he used to
Mhm.
sing and he was a saxophonist.
Mhm.
So saxophone didn't have an option, and he bought a piano and said, "Hey, Monday you start school because you can learn to play for me." And I'm grateful for the years that God allowed us to play and
Yeah.
sing together. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful memories right there. All right, so Mr. James, we are coming up now on our top 10 trivia question segment. So we've been talking all evening, but a part of this podcast is the top 10 trivia questions. So we're going to go now into top 10, into the 10 trivia questions, and you just answer them as you see them pop up on the screen. So the
Sure.
first question is, what was your favorite game or sport as a child growing up?
Oh gosh, I'm not into sports at all. No, I'm not. I don't play sports. I don't play the sports. I did not participate in sports,
Uh-huh.
and I don't even watch sports today. I'm
Wow.
I'm sorry. And can you hear me? Because I just touched my
I
earpod.
can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, before anybody judge me, and let me explain, right? I just can't understand because we're only here for a limited time.
Right?
Why I should use my time
Mm-hmm.
to watch Michael Jordan
Oh, gee.
run up and down the court with a ball, throw it in a hoop, who's making millions, and you want me to sit down and watch you? No, man, I don't have that time. Sorry.
Wow,
Right.
wow. So
So
it's easier to find you around a keyboard or playing your saxophone than
yes,
seeing you watching
yes, yes.
watching a basketball game or
What's
playing
not?
basketball. All
Never.
right. So Mr. James is not into sports, guys, so please do not invite him to no
But
basketball games. All
no,
right.
but I do sponsor
Okay.
the Police Action League. That's the biggest league in Providencia. It's for the kids.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I do sponsor my company sponsor the Police Action League every year. We've been doing it for 3 years. So just because I'm not into it, I
Mm-hmm.
sponsor, but I'm not coming to play.
All
Neither
right.
am I coming to watch.
I think they should get you on the court one day, though. I think they
Oh
should.
God.
All right, next question. What was your worst subject in school?
History. Because I had this history teacher
Mm-hmm.
that made it um, very boring.
Mm-hmm.
And she was Jamaican too. Her name was Miss
Oh,
Grant, and she would say, "You guys are so dumb. You would make a dare jackass get up and run." And I'd never forget. So every time she would come, we would expect the line, and I would just turn her off. So
oh my word.
uh,
Yo. All
so I
right.
think she was kidding them, but we just always laughed, and
Mm-hmm.
no, everybody failed history.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you know what? You saying that it made me realize how important your attitude towards students as a teacher
Yes.
is. Because I can tell you, I mean, I've had the experience where, I mean, with my students, like some of them, they're not say them. I've been rough on them, and
Mm,
it was a turn off for them. And
mhm.
you would not see them performing. But anytime you see the attitude is positive and you show them a
Yeah.
lot of love and so on,
Yes.
then definitely they'll do put the work in. All right,
Mhm.
next question. Share a good and a bad experience you had with your teacher in school.
Good and a bad experience. I was going to tell you about a teacher that I liked, but I don't think that'd be fitting. That wouldn't be fitting. That wouldn't be fitting for the viewers, not at all. Good and bad experience.
Mhm.
I tell you about a good experience in Jamaica
Right,
at UTEC, and it was this time. I think it's a good and bad. I'm going to call this one a good and bad. So one
right.
answer for both.
Hmm.
UTEC, they increased the tuition fees.
Hmm.
It went up. Obviously, by Jamaicans thought it was too much, and during that time, Jamaicans like protest and demonstrate because they always want justice.
Yes.
And and it was the notes came around that no
Mhm.
school tomorrow, bring a cardboard because it's protest. Now
Right.
I'm out there from the Turks and Caicos. First of all, my school fee way more than all of Ono anyway, so I don't
Mhm.
understand why I have to protest. And there was this protesting going on, and two of the guys tapped me on my back. They said, "Hey." They called me Small Islander. That's the name they gave me.
Right.
They say Small Islander. If you're not with us, you're against us. So he said, which one you want? So in one arm he had a knife, and in the other hand he had a marker for me to write on a cardboard. So I had to pick the card, either the knife or the cardboard, which one you want. So I picked the marker, and I was like,
Wow.
no justice. And I was walking around in Jamaica with
Wow.
that had absolutely nothing to do with me demonstrating because the tuition fees were increased.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was
Look
a bad
at that.
experience.
And your school fee was higher than theirs. Oh
Way
God.
more. But I mean, like
Oh
I said,
God.
they taught me that love of community and working together. And he
Mhm.
reminded me, even though we were friends, he's like, yo, either you're with me or you're against me. So which one? And I was like, all right, they give me the marker and tell
You
me
did
what to
it,
write on
Mark.
my placard. And let me walk around holding this placard.
Well, did you learn much patois while you were in Jamaica? Because I mean, that's one of the things most people who go to school in Jamaica, they just love the patois. Did you? It's not a trivia question. I mean, what was it like speaking patois in Jamaica?
Well, remember, my father was Jamaican, so he didn't speak
Right.
much patois. But when you see him get mad,
Uh-huh.
ah, that's all would come out all the time.
It's
So
a
it wasn't a case where I was not used to patois because it
Jamaican
was
thing.
in our house. So
Right.
it was proper English all the time. But
Right.
when you see he get mad, oh, patois, girl, that's the only thing will come out. So yeah, so I did. I went to Jamaica with patois and still learning patois in Jamaica.
Right. Oh my
Yes,
God. I mean, it's such a Jamaican thing. Like you be talking standard English, but you just
yes,
get us mad. And you hear
yes,
all
exactly. Yes.
Oh my God. All right, next question. Which song do you dance to the most while working? So when you're working, which song are you listening to?
Oh my gosh. Ah, you won't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
People gonna call. You're gonna make me lose points now, man, because I don't really listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
I play music when I'm working out in the gym, but
Right.
but I love reggae music though. From a musician point of view now, I
Mm-hmm.
love reggae music. I love conscious music. Um,
Okay.
I love all the beats, Buju, Beanie, and Barris. That's those three are my
Mm-hmm.
favorite. So
Oh,
you can find me playing that. But then I love my soul music. I love my
right.
island music. You can't give up Kino and Cass.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
but most times working out, you can find me playing some Barris and then obviously
Mm-hmm.
some local music.
Right, right. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. And some of my friends they laugh at me because whenever I go out now, I'll be dancing like the Turks Islander because I'm like, oh Tamara, you I was at that same boys day you were at. My son was playing the whipsaw, and my vice principal she sent me a video. I said, "Look at your Turks boy."
Yes, 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 yes. It's in our blood.
So the culture is deeply embedded. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Next question: if you could be any prime minister or premier, who would it be and why? Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
And I want to answer this question. I want to answer it honestly. I was going to say Mia Motley, but and she is the all-time greatest. But
Yeah.
I've had an opportunity to work alongside Dr. Michael Mizik, our former premier.
Okay. Okay.
I worked side by side with him for.
Hmm.
Uh, I was seconded for about 6 months as the national
Hmm.
rebuilding coordinator after the hurricane.
Okay.
And despite the shortcomings and the fall, I'd like to say, he is
Hmm.
a brilliant guy.
Wow.
He is a brilliant guy, and
Hmm.
some of my greatest lessons
Hmm.
was learned from him. I mean,
Hmm.
not divulging too much, but I
Right.
remember sitting down in meetings
Hmm.
and they would be tabling on the board of a problem,
Right.
and he
Hmm.
would say, okay, and he would take myself, Kelly, and like Honorable Floyd, and he would say,
Hmm.
y'all come into my office, and we would leave all the other ministers, and he would go in the office,
Hmm.
and he would put his feet up on the desk, probably smoke a cigar, and he
Hmm.
would talk about anything related, not related to the problem. He's like, hey, how
Right.
have you ever running today? And I'm like,
Hmm.
what about it like checks if we have any rain? And we would talk about anything for like 45 minutes.
Right.
And after 45 minutes, we would go back into the room and he would
Right.
go to the board and he would say, here's the solution. And
Mm-hmm.
one would think that we were in the room brainstorming, and
Wow.
that's the way he worked.
Mm-hmm.
And despite a lot of stuff that went wrong,
Right.
having to see him and work with
Mm-hmm.
him that
Mm-hmm.
closely and personally,
Right.
I I took that, and I don't think I take that away from him,
Right. Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
I knew where his heart was. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
things just got a little derailed, and
Right.
I still would call his name to say
Mm-hmm.
one of the greatest.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Awesome. All right. So we know we're in the election season for the USA. Who are you
Mhm.
voting for, Kamala or Trump?
Oh gosh, you gonna make me lose my blackness? Okay. All right. Here's the thing, and I thank God I cannot vote, but
Mm-hmm.
I really love Trump, and I tell you
Mm-hmm.
why I do, because not only is it best for the Caribbean because more money run this way when Republicans are in power,
Okay.
but he's not a politician; he's a businessman.
Okay.
And so, because he's not a politician,
Mm-hmm.
his principles are
Mm-hmm.
far more firm and not bending. So,
Okay.
he's going to say straight up, hey, you were born a male. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to call you a male. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be a female. And that's
Mm-hmm.
it. While the
Wow.
Democrats are going to be like, more, hey, you have a right to decide where you want to
Mm-hmm.
be. It's your business and stuff like that. And I'm more on the principle side. Hey, listen,
Right.
it
Right.
is what it is. Put
Mm-hmm.
the, I don't want to hear nothing but no other religion. Put the Bible factions back in
Mm-hmm.
schools. That's it. The Democrats are more like, hey, be free to choose who you worship and blah
Right.
blah blah. Nah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with the principle guy.
Wow. You're gonna get stoned this evening as a black
I'm
man. Oh
telling
my
you.
God. You're gonna get stoned. Oh my gosh. All right. Next question. What is your favorite dish?
You won't believe it. Um, I have two favorite dishes. I have a Caribbean favorite dish, and I have a
Mm-hmm.
so my Caribbean favorite dish is curry chicken and boiled dumplings.
Woo!
Yeah.
The white
Oh
dumpling or
yeah.
the cornmeal dumpling?
Oh man, white dumpling, white dumpling. My father used to make it all the time, and I remember I told you the time when the Jamaican guy and I, when we lived inside the store,
Mm-hmm.
we had corned beef
Mm-hmm.
and boiled dumpling for 4 days. That's what we ate.
Wow.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Same meal for 4 days. So, um, but curry chicken and boiled dumpling is my favorite Caribbean dish. And
Wow.
when I go outside the Caribbean, it would be a chicken parmesan dinner.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. All right. Next question. If you had to give up one social media platform, what would it be? Are you even on social media like that anyway? What would
I
you
am
give up?
on, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
That's about it. If I have to give up one, it would be Instagram. I like Facebook. It's more my
Okay.
era. Yes.
All right. All right. If you were an animal, that's the next question. If you were an animal, which animal would you be and why?
Lion, king of the jungle. I believe
Wow.
in hunting.
Mm.
I believe in hunting. I go out, let me rip it, but when I roar, I
Mm-hmm.
want everybody to know that I'm roaring. Hence, you
Wow.
see lapels everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
When I roar, when I do something, it has to be done. So when the lion roar, but
Mm.
you know, most people don't know the on the flip side, the lion he dies a lonely death because when he
Wow.
can't hunt anymore, he dies of starvation.
Woo. Wow.
But during his time, he reigns. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
And I believe in
wow.
being number one. So,
Are you
yeah.
August born?
May.
Okay. Because all those people always choose to be a lion. I'm just
Uh,
amazed that you actually chose to be a lion. But
yeah,
all right. Your final question. Pick a number 1 to 100. Between 1 and 100.
8.
Great. So you have $8 million. What are you going to do with that $8 million?
Invest about 4.
Mm-hmm.
Live good with 2,
Mm-hmm.
and help people with the other 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. That ends our top 10 trivia question. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Mr. Elery James out of the Turks and Caicos Islands. He's an entrepreneur. He's techie. He moved from tech into textiles. He still continues his journey of just creating and building wealth, ensuring that persons in our environment, especially young people, learn financial literacy. And I had the pleasure of him joining me this evening. Mr. James, we have pretty much come to the end of our discussion, but I will give you at this time the opportunity just to give your final word to our listeners this evening.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me. It's been a very fruitful discussion, and I enjoy, as you know, sharing my story in an effort, hoping to inspire others. But
Yes.
I mean, more than anything, to our listeners, I think, and it's only about 3 or 4 weeks, I realize now how short life is.
Mm,
Life is extremely short, and we're here for a purpose.
yes.
And I admonish you to try and find your purpose
Mm-hmm.
before the windows and doors start to close. Because youth is only about this big, and then your window to get stuff done, it's
Mm-hmm.
only about this big, and
Mm-hmm.
then it starts to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
And before it shrinks, you need to fulfill your God given purpose.
Yes.
Make your contribution
Mm-hmm.
to the world, to your island, that so when you're gone, someone can say, he did this, or she did this, or this was done under them.
Yes.
Your give Make sure you give back. Make sure your seed don't waste.
Mm.
Your seed must be planted. And
Yes.
once you plant your seed, once it grow, you
Mm.
know, they're gonna see it. And once it grows, it's going to bear fruit.
Yes.
And once that fruit grow, you already know perpetually something has happened, some change has taken effect.
Yes.
So before your time expires,
Mm-hmm.
do something. And if it's only one line you could remember, is do
Yes.
something. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. No big words, no fancy title.
Mm-hmm.
Just do something.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. James, for sharing those words of encouragement and inspiration to our listeners this evening. Find your purpose. Life is short, so you have to value every moment that you have. Do something. Don't allow your life to go to waste. Mr. James, it's really an honor. And I must say thank you also for joining me this evening. It was indeed, as I said earlier, a very candid conversation, and I enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that even if persons didn't join in this evening, they would have taken some time later on to listen and they too would be inspired. I want to wish for you all the best to you and your family, all your future ventures. I pray that, God will continue to expand your horizon as you continue to move forward. This has been Turning the Spotlight. Once again, thank you for joining. God bless
Thank
you
you.
and have a wonderful evening.